am your host. That's right. We are back. This is Jessica Koch with Profound Professionals. Can you believe it? I know I say it every time, but I still cannot. It has been 9 years that we have been bringing you global industry experts, over 1,000 of them that help improve your personal life and grow your business. Today, we have the brilliant, the beautiful Dr. Michelle. She is the founder of Alchemy Performance Consulting, where she works with diverse groups of people as a clinical and sport psychologist. How interesting is that? She's also a public speaker. So if you have an event that needs just that kind of expertise, you're going to want to sign her up and get her to come out and talk to your community. So welcome, Dr. Michelle.
Welcome. Well, thanks for welcoming me.
So tell us, how did this become your passion, your purpose, your life, your focus in all that you're doing to support and make the world better than it is, because it's better because you're in it. So how has this become your passion?
Yeah, it has been quite a journey. I will try to keep it to a succinct story. I actually started out as a teaching major, education major, and when I went in the first year to work with students, I learned about a young boy who had really undergone some pretty big adversities and a large trauma just prior to the school year starting, that presented, which we did not know at the time, but it presented as like inattentiveness, really being disconnected from his peers. And that was, this was in the early 2000s, late 1999. And it was presenting in that way, but it was really frustrating for folks, right? They're trying to engage. And I was really worried. I was so worried about him, and I wasn't able to focus on the lesson plan. So when I learned later that day what actually was going on with him, I believe he was about 7 or 8, so just a babe, and learned that he had witnessed a tragic death of a cousin. And so really what we were seeing wasn't just, defiance or, just trying to go rogue in classroom. He would get up, he would leave the classroom. It was really trauma. And I went home that same day and was like, I just don't think I'm going to be a very good teacher, because while teaching is so important, I have so many important people in my life that are educators, and their work, they are truly heroes in this world.
Yeah.
I knew that I would not be the one to follow the lesson plan. I would be the one that's like checking in on the kids and doing like support groups. So I went back, I changed my major, and I majored in psychology through college, my master's, then my grad program. And so that's kind of where I became a psychologist. I think the rest of it is truly just being curious. I'm so curious about people. I am pretty frequently teased by my loved ones for going in and getting, I don't know, cough drops and coming back knowing the cashier's whole life story and whatnot. So I'm just curious about people. I like hearing stories. I like supporting. I like really helping people be felt like they're being seen. And I feel like when you work together and you connect on just like a human level, I always say to my clients, I'm a human first, I'm a psychologist second. So it really starts there. And when you connect, you can see really cool things happen. People feel safe, they take risks, they learn new skills, they, improve their relationships. And throughout my career, I really have I have moved through different areas. I started with the elderly. I worked with individuals, children and families that were part of the system, whether it be the Department of Family and Children or probation or both. Did that for a long time. Then I worked with Mothers Against Drunk Driving for a while, different role, not as a psychologist, but worked with them. And since then, I've worked with lots of different clinical populations and athletes. And the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. And the more I want to talk to people and see, help them use the knowledge that I have, meeting with the knowledge that they have to kind of improve whatever their circumstances are at the time.
So do you work with clients both in person as well as virtual type
I
of thing?
do.
And
I
where
do.
are you physically located?
I am located in Chicago, Illinois, on the north side. And so I have a small practice, kind of on the edge of what's called Uptown in Andersonville, and then I do virtual as well.
Now, we have the clinical and the sport. We kind of
Mhm.
understand the clinical now with some of the background story you gave us.
Mhm.
You want to give us a little information on the sport, and then I have a follow-up question once you've shared that with us.
Yes, of course. So I was also an athlete. I'm a runner, lifelong runner. I have a sister who was a competitive gymnast. So sports and athletics kind of run, was part of my upbringing. And I really didn't get there. You can go to school. It's there are a lot more programs now than when I was training, but you
Mhm,
can go to school for specifically sport performance.
mhm,
I went the clinical route, but when I was doing my doctoral internship, which is kind of similar to your medical residency and my postdoc,
mhm,
I had the opportunity to work with the athletic departments and do a lot of
mhm,
work with them, both in a clinical and a performance setting. Um, and it was fascinating. So there are individuals, like I said, that do strictly performance, and that I don't
mhm,
do strictly performance. I can't untether the clinical from the person and what they're doing their craft. So we do a lot of like what is affecting maybe performance.
mhm,
Um, and because there's a lot of stuff going on under the
mhm.
surface, right? It's not just, oh, I missed that goal, or so I worked with them and found that to be really fun. And it's also really like I really enjoy having a lot of fun playing with my clients. I guess what I mean by that is like humor and
Mhm.
having some fun goal setting and stuff like that. So I worked with them, and it also diversifies sort of like my own experience.
Mhm.
And I feel like the more diverse my clients are, the more I'm learning, but also the more I can remain engaged and fresh with each person and whatever it is that they're going through.
Yeah, I find that too. I've been speaking for, gosh, close to 30 years now,
Oh, wow.
and I have over 100 topics I can do, and a lot of that becomes because someone will ask me, "Oh, you did this. Can you do
Mm-hmm.
this?" And if it's close enough to my field, I'll say yes.
Yeah.
I'll study the heck out of it and give them the
Yeah.
presentations they've ever received based on validating experts and going deep into a topic, and that's what makes it engaging and exciting and new
Mm-hmm.
for me. Now i
Yep.
wouldn't i wouldn't try to do psychology. Of course, I stay within my parameters, but sales and marketing is such a vast space with social media and outsourcing and systems and automation, and there's just so many things that I can continue to learn,
Mm-hmm.
which keeps it engaging for me. Now,
Yeah.
are you doing this one-on-one only, or you have group sessions for some of these participants if they're looking for kind of that group therapy? Because
Mm-hmm.
I know that that's some of the best experience I've had in the past in my lifetime, where I'm doing masterminds or collaborative,
Mm-hmm.
guided by the expert, but getting
Yep.
the input and hearing other people's experiences helped me really adjust. So how does that work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I was actually working with a colleague this morning on a workshop, and we were talking exactly about that. I like to think of it as like the funnel approach,
Mhm,
or maybe not necessarily the funnel, but um, the hourglass approach. So
mhm,
um, I love I love to work one on one with people, but I also like to go big. And you can only do so much work with one
mhm,
person in a 55, 60-minute session. So while that has its utility and its role, and I really enjoy that,
mhm,
um, I find that I can also affect more change, more impact when I'm working with a larger group. So I definitely do group, I do workshops, and I think that that's to your point. When you hear your peers and what they have to say, that is a very different learning experience for most
It
folks.
is. Mhm,
It really is, and like again, I have a lot of knowledge,
mhm,
I think people can listen to what I have to say when they hear it coming from other people too. It
Mhm,
sort of nails that in a little bit more. I think also, while I am a human first, there's only so much that I can do to reduce a power gap.
mhm,
I'm still like an authority figure. I'm still a
mhm,
doctor when I'm working with people. And there's boundaries there that I think can impede some of that work. And when you're working with a group of people, while I'm facilitating it, to your point, other people are talking about their own thoughts, their own experiences, and it
mhm,
feels a lot more, I think it can feel more relatable because people are sharing their own experiences. And while I can disclose some stuff, I don't disclose a ton about myself to my
mhm,
clients. And so there's real power in that. I really
mhm,
like to do individual, do the group, then go back, right? It's like you go
mhm,
small, you go big, you go small again.
mhm,
And then I think the other part about the group work, or even just being on podcasts, right? It's like I'm working with you one on one, right? We're
mhm,
working together one on one right now, but many people will hear it. And so you're
mhm,
affecting more change. I feel like one of the things that I've observed in my 20-year career is just the immense isolation that people feel.
mhm,
Um, and that's over time, I have noticed that a lot. Then moving into more of a tech world, right, where there's a lot of conveniences with texting or online platforms, which is great. The downside of that is we're
mhm,
alone. Um, and people can feel really isolated at times.
mhm.
When we break down the isolation, I think we normalize the human experience a little bit more, and people don't feel, oh, am I crazy? Or that's what I
Mhm,
hear all the time. I wouldn't say you're crazy, anyone's crazy, but I hear a client say, am I crazy for thinking this? Am I the only one? How come everybody else
mhm.
seems to have this together? And that we don't. We're all just kind of doing our best.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because I'm a big believer that loneliness is one of the worst, I mean, there's many
Mm-hmm.
bad diseases out there, but loneliness is a very bad one.
Yeah.
And it frightens me a little. I love, and don't take this wrong, audience, because you know how I feel about it. I even teach trainings on it and do other stuff. I love what AI can do for us in a positive format. Everything that's been brought to us when it was brand new at the time, the internet was brand new. We all had dial up and we had this brand new thing called Google.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was good and bad with that. There's this email thing, and now everyone has an email. There was good and bad with that. There's this
Yep.
social media spaces, good and bad with that. Same
Yeah.
with AI. And my concern is, you kept talking about how human you are, and we need to keep
Mm-hmm.
humans in the living, breathing with a soul
Mm-hmm.
and a spirit or whatever you
Yeah.
believe in the equation because it very much my heart aches when I hear people are using AI as company and as
Mm-hmm.
to talk to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say there's lots of resources and programs to get help, work with someone, work with a psychologist, talk to Dr. Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
talk to someone, call an 800 number, talk to a living, breathing human
Mm-hmm.
being. I mean, that I don't know. I think there's a lot of controversy around that, and I don't want to drag that through the weeds, but I do think that
Mm-hmm.
that's something we're facing today. Now, if they
Yeah.
did want to come meet with you one on one or find out what group programs
Mm-hmm.
and options and events were coming up for you, what's the best way for them to find you, Dr. Michelle?
Yeah, so I have a LinkedIn, just
Mm,
Michelle Montero on there, Chicago, Illinois. I do have a website. We're doing some maintenance right now, so I know
mhm.
if anybody went to it today, it would be down. But my website is alchemyperformanceconsulting.com.
Okay.
Um, and then I also have like a Psychology Today page.
Mhm.
So all of my contact information is, if you can't go to the website right now, it's on LinkedIn and or the Psychology Today page.
And wherever you're finding this, all the places we post it, there will be a custom article we build about Dr. Michelle and all the different ways to find and reach her, so you won't have to be hunting too much. I do just like to give the guests an opportunity to say that out loud in case you're just
Well,
listening.
thanks.
And our websites, we're switching platforms too, so it's working and then not working, but we're okay with it. Just hang tight, everyone. We're gonna have a brand new platform up and ready probably by the end of next month. That's gonna be pretty beautiful and exciting. So, sometimes we have to tweak technology. It's a thing, so I get it.
Yep,
Now,
yep.
I'd love for you. Well, before we go into the tip, I will have to tell you, like, I am the candy store of a test study. If you ever, you and I would have
I
to
like
talk
it already,
offline
wherever you're
because
going with
I'm
this.
not doing it here. But I have to tell you, I went through some um, multiple forms of trauma throughout my
Mhm.
from childhood throughout my lifetime, and then have converted to this. I have this beautiful, joyful, amazing, successful best life ever. I live the best life ever.
I
And
love
if
that.
someone were to hear my story, they would be like, "Well, how did that person end up to be that person?" That just from a psychologist standpoint, like I said, I'd be a
Yeah.
candy store of opening up the box, the Pandora's box. I can't even believe you. That couldn't even be possible because I'm pretty great. But anyway, just thought I'd tease her with that. You guys can just not listen because I'm not sharing any of that with you guys. I love you, and you know lots of things about my life, but some stuff. Well, only really your doctor, your spouse, or your partner, or your psychologist should know. Just saying.
Mhm.
And some of that's just not for social media. So a tip today. Could you give us a tip for today?
Yeah, well, I think that's great actually. Like you're even just that as a segue. Like one of the things, so it's a tip, but it's, sandwiched in with some things. Slow down, right? Like slow down. Um, know what your boundaries are. Know what it is that you want to share with people. Whether that be, like you said, that's not for social media, right? Like
Yeah.
slow down and know. I think a lot of times we find ourselves responding and reacting, and
Mhm.
then to a stimulus. This conversation is a stimulus or has
Mhm.
stimulus value, so we respond, and then we sort of have the emotional hangover. Oh no, did I say too much? Did I say not enough? Did I? Right? We have that like internal regret, whatever you label it as.
Mhm.
We've all felt that, and so I say like slow down. You
Mhm.
started out with a breath, right? Like take a
Mhm.
breath, put your feet on the ground wherever your feet are. That's kind of where your head should be.
Mhm.
And kind of like if you have to look down at your feet and be like, oh, hey, there you are, still there. Um, Slow down and think about what it is that you want to say. And think about not only what you want to say, but do I want to share this with this person? Sometimes
Mhm.
I think we feel compelled or obligated to say things to certain people, whether they be our parents, our siblings, our loved ones, or whomever it may be,
Mhm.
authority, teachers, whatever. Um, have they earned that from me yet? Right? You don't have to share everything,
Mhm.
and you can share a lot. You can share more than you most people think with just a little bit. Um, and send a message of like, and I'm done talking about that now, right? Without it being rude or aggressive, or just like knowing what it is that I want to share with this person. If you feel like, oh wow, I've assessed and maybe I want to share more, you can always go and share more, or say like, again, this, it's not just in sharing, it could be in doing more, right? Accepting more work or going to more engagements. um, think about what you really want or what you may want, and keep it keep it so that you're able to add versus take away. I think it's harder
Mhm.
to kind of like take away when you've
Yeah.
already put something out there.
Mhm.
And that starts with kind of slowing down and grounding yourself, knowing what it is that you want.
Well, and I love that you're saying this because also ask yourself, and as a mom, I have 7 kids and 8 grandkids,
Wow,
and
that's
6 of them,
amazing.
the youngest is 13, but 6 of them are adults. And some of what I went through was with their dad, and
Hmm.
I haven't shared because I asked myself, what benefit would it be
Mhm.
for these either children or adults or what benefit this person you're sharing
Mhm.
with will they receive? Will there be any? Is it just you getting things off your chest or you feeling
Mhm.
better? Or is there some benefit for sharing
Yeah.
it going to strengthen your relationship? Is
Yeah.
it going to be, so think about even when you're sharing with friends and family and clients and whoever, is there a benefit in sharing this for
Mhm.
not just me, but for them as
But
well,
for them too.
And what
Mhm.
do you want to achieve with sharing this information? Because you may find it isn't, it's not good for you or them. And
Mhm.
so it might be not something you share with them. Maybe some things are just meant for your own personal journal or
Mhm.
psychologist
Mhm.
or your therapist or some private person. And then you guys can decide together some of the big, hard stuff. Who
Yeah.
else in your world might this be helpful for you and them and beneficial to share with,
Yep.
because it's not always black and white. It's not always very clear and easy.
It most often isn't, right? There we live in such areas of gray.
Mhm.
I love that piece of not just for yourself, but for others, right? I
Mhm.
mean, for different in different scenarios, it for example, like working with somebody who I work with a lot of like college age individuals,
Mhm.
having worked at a lot of universities in my past. Um, and oftentimes they're in this very liminal stage. I'm an adult legally and I live
Mhm.
on my own, but I'm dependent on my parents. So
Mhm.
that's a confusing spot for both parties. It
Mhm.
really is. And so often what I hear is like, well, I was telling my parent this. Um, and then parent maybe says something and adult child reacts and is upset by whatever parent says, right?
Mhm.
Or vice versa. So it's sort of like you don't have to tell them everything. Maybe give them enough to know so that they know that you're doing okay. You're searching
Mhm.
for the internship. You're doing whatever it may be that they are breathing down your neck for, but not so much that then you get in the weeds together and then
Mhm.
you're feeling attacked and like you're not able to individuate, right? um, or on another example might be where you're talking about, is this for me or is it for the other person? Am I
Mhm.
telling them this because I need to get off my chest? Sometimes, I've this is a generic example, but I've heard it in many different ways of, oh, wow, I feel like I wronged somebody many years ago and I want to call them up and apologize. And the question is often, is this for you or is this for them?
Mhm.
Is this something that you feel like they may want to engage in? Is
Mhm.
this something that you may need to forgive yourself for maybe making what was hurtful
Mhm.
20 years ago, 10 years ago, 6 months ago, and is now kind of past and is over? And you're now realizing that this was, a mistake, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm not sure what the answer is. You got to figure that out, but kind of
Sure.
being intentional and just slowing down.
Well, I would say on the child example, anybody listening, my tip is, and this is something I'm in a book club right now, and I am really working hard at trying to learn how to have a healthy and good relationship with adult children who are no longer
Mm-hmm.
children.
Mm.
And so, I would encourage young adults and parents of adults to begin to explore all the resources that are out there that help you transition into a new comfort space of a new relationship
Mm-hmm.
because it is a brand new relationship. And I'm kind
Yep.
of having to start all over learning how to engage and what their expectations are. That doesn't mean you have to
Mm-hmm.
meet them all, and it doesn't mean they're always all realistic, but to know what they are helps you
Yeah.
understand how you can take steps to begin to
Mm-hmm.
strengthen and transform that specific kind of relationship. So I love that also. Um, one of the things that our show has done from show number one is try to inspire people to do something good outside of themselves. So we talk about with our guests, and all of you out there start typing and give us the causes that are close to your heart. And when you and someone else hits that share button, we're spreading some awareness. and some information for people who may need that service or might want to give time, treasure, or talent to, or just might want to investigate and see how it might fit into their world, or it just might remind them that they have a cause so very close to their own heart, and have them uh, put it on their schedule to begin engaging and doing something kind for them. Again, so Dr. Michelle, could you share with us a cause you care about?
Of course, of course. I have a lot of them. One that is a very large part of my life right now. I work with. I'm on the board for an organization here in Chicago called Impact Chicago.
Mm,
Excuse me. And Impact Chicago is a nonprofit. It is an organization that is working with women, female identifying individuals, and teaching them self defense. Basically,
mm,
um, it is an organization that is working to. The goal would be to end, violence and to
mhm,
create a more inclusive and gentler world.
mhm,
Um, because there are a lot of gender-based violences,
mhm,
gender-based violence incidences.
mhm,
um, Basically, the organization teaches the participants how to defend themselves physically and with their voice. So I myself went through the course in September. I've taken a lot of self-defense classes throughout my life,
mhm,
and I will say objectively, this is the best one I've ever taken. It was amazing and transformative. There was a group of individuals that you, as we were talking about earlier, became very close to.
mhm,
Um, the organization is trauma informed as well.
mhm,
So when you are learning how to defend yourself, both verbally and physically, they're teaching you how to do that while you are in an adrenalized state as well. So
mhm.
if you were walking down the street and you were attacked,
Sure.
your body knows, your body
Mhm,
remembers what to do.
mhm.
And
Muscle
what was
train.
really,
Mhm,
yes, and what was really awesome about that course and being a part of the course is, yeah, learning
mhm.
some of these techniques, which is feels empowering and makes you feel
Yeah.
safer. um, was also watching the my peers.
Mm,
And so I'm pretty extroverted. I talk to anybody. We've already established that on the
mhm,
show. um, Many of my peers were not. They were very quiet, very
mhm,
reserved. Some of that was for like that. They are just by disposition, nature, they were
mhm,
more introverted. Some it's cultural. So many differences amongst all of us. And in the 3 days, seeing somebody really kind of like hide in the corner and feel
mhm.
very uncomfortable, and then showing up and sticking
Mhm,
their chest out, using their voice.
mhm,
They teach you how to do. They call them fights. You're like learning how to take care of yourself. Some of
mhm,
them are purely verbal,
mhm,
and I personally found that to be honestly the hardest one. Even
mhm.
though I am a robust talker, I did find it difficult because they're coming. There's a simulation, and you win the fight when the suited assailant is what they're calling them, kind of walks away.
Mm,
So one of the simulations was you're waiting for the train at night. You're downtown and somebody comes up to you and is making some sort of lewd comment,
mhm,
um, and you have to kind of speak up for yourself. And I found that really challenging to be like back
mhm,
off, right, and really assert yourself. So that was really amazing, and you can see lots of different reasons why that is important.
mhm.
In some cultures, you're not, some people are taught not to really use their voice at all, or they're taught to be very small, or so really
Yeah.
learning how to take care of yourself and assess
Mm.
danger, and meet that danger with a boundary. I
I
felt
love
was very powerful.
it's good to have the strength of that. Also, there are other techniques as far as verbally is really there's
Hmm.
great ways to diffuse a situation or a really
Yep.
upset person. There's also really great
De-escalating.
yeah, there's also
Hmm.
art, negotiation, skills and techniques. I actually taught a workshop for one of the largest power providers in the world and their
Mm.
leadership team on the art of negotiation. So there's lots of ways to handle
Yep.
that. And I love that you brought this up because my daughter's godfather is a black belt. And so since
Mm.
my 13-year-old. So since she was very little, she's been training. And matter of fact, some of our other kids too, because my husband's a third degree black belt. So we've always had
Oh,
them in karate and just enough to learn to defend themselves or just enough to
mhm.
get away. You know what? These
Exactly.
are the three key actions you do. You make a lot of noise, you do this, and you run and get
Yep,
away to safety. So
it
safety is key,
is.
people. We love this cause. Now we're to the next step. You know what it is. Keep typing. We want to hear about books now. Books from you. If you're an
Mm,
author of a book, if you love a book, if it inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business, type away and someone's going to be kind enough to hit share. And we just might be featuring the book you wrote. Who knows? That would be wonderful. We can push it around and promote it as we share this amazing interview with Dr. Michelle. And she's going to tell us a book that inspired her personal life or helped her grow her business also. What book do you have for us today?
Absolutely. Well, you were talking about your own family earlier, so this is very timely. Um, I've not written a book, perhaps one day, but Nedra Glover Twab is amazing. She's on social media as well. I follow her on there. So this book is called Drama Free. She has a
Mm,
couple other books called, I wrote it down, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And there's some workbooks on that too. So while this one I have in the flesh, it's Drama Free. It says a guide to managing unhealthy family relationships. You
mm,
can use the principles in this with other relationships as well.
mm,
And what I find so great about this is, and a lot of her work is on boundaries. And I don't think boundaries are talked about enough, or
mm,
when they are, I think it's talked about in a way that's very conceptual. And then people are kind of like, but what does that really mean?
mhm,
There's so many different kinds of boundaries and emotional, physical,
mhm,
verbal, monetary, whatever. And really, it talks about figuring out, again, going back to my other point of like slowing down,
mhm,
what makes you feel like, oh no, somebody's crossed a boundary?
mhm,
What's too close? Do I have that emotional hangover feeling? Again, that's what I dub it. Anybody, you can,
mhm,
I don't know what other people call that for themselves, but so really talking about like the different boundaries that people have,
mhm,
when maybe you have gotten to a place where your boundary needs to change or evolve, whether that be it needs to
mhm,
tighten up or, it could loosen up.
mhm,
Um, and so that book I find is great for learning about your boundaries, learning about differentiating what is a boundary and what is my emotional reaction to a boundary,
mhm,
um, so that you can again discern those and make a plan from there, right? Like just because
mhm,
somebody sets a boundary doesn't mean you have to like that or that they have to like yours.
mhm,
um, but it does mean we need to respect it. And
mhm,
when I don't like the boundary or somebody is, for example, crossing one or we're crossing theirs, how do I learn how to deal with my emotional reaction to the fact that it was crossed or I crossed it and they told me I crossed it?
mhm. And that's fascinating because when you're setting these boundaries, the first thing you want to start with is a safe soundboard person, like a
Hmm.
psychiatrist or a therapist or your spouse or partner or whoever is a safe and loving, healthy person in your life. And maybe you have people in your life that you need these boundaries for. First thing is to evaluate, are these good and healthy people that you really want or need to still have in your life?
Hmm.
And then secondly, if they are someone you want to have a relationship is because you're related to them and you really, want they're going to be a part of your life. Um, you can set a boundary. And I have an example. I have a family member that I will invite to my space or I will meet outside of my space at a pre-decided location. And I always have a specific time frame for a start and a stop for the
Hmm.
interaction. And I also prepare myself with a meditation and a prayer to kind of protect myself for any negativity that will occur. And this other person has no idea what these boundaries are. This is
Hmm.
just how I have
Hmm.
safely been able to continue to interact and have, a healthier relationship with them. And I've learned to verbalize when someone says something unkind or
Hmm.
manipulative, or, I'll say something like, Dr. Michelle, I know when you shared that with me, it most likely wasn't your intention to make me feel guilty or uncomfortable or like I'm not good enough. Um, but when you share that with me in that manner, that's a little bit of how I'm feeling.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I would appreciate it if we didn't discuss that further, or we talked about it in a different way, or something like that, where
Hmm.
you stop someone
Yep.
from. I have a lot of people who do. We call them as Italian backhanded compliments.
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, and to actually address those. And it's
Yeah.
startling for
Yeah.
the other person
Yeah.
to say, "Oh, no, I didn't mean that at all." And just give them an
Yeah.
opportunity, and just do it with grace and
Yep.
kindness, and giving everyone space to be the best version of themselves,
Yeah.
together, is what I believe in, and I love that. Thank you for sharing that book with us. I think it's a
Yeah.
very great and helpful book. Now, I know you don't have a book yet, but are there any other programs or pieces of your company that you didn't get to share that you might want to talk about a bit?
Sure. Yeah. I definitely, maybe in the future there will be a book. But for now, I do the clinical work, I do the sport work, and then I do a decent amount of public speaking on a
Mhm.
variety of topics. I know you had mentioned like you could talk on 100 different things. Likewise. Um, and I am currently working on, so I won't give all the details away, but I am
Okay.
currently working with a couple other people to do some workshops,
Hmm.
women based, female based, but workshops on some empowerment, body image, things like that
Mhm.
nature, and some sport. So stay
Very
tuned.
All
Mhm.
right. So if you're out there and watching, and we thank you that you are, and you're thinking, wait, I'm an author. I can help people's personal lives. I can grow their business big. I think I should be on this Profound Professionals podcast show. Well, come on, reach out to us and our team. We'll tell you exactly how to get on. But before we say goodbye, we're going to ask Dr. Michelle to give us a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration as we close the show. But before you do that, I just need to tell you, it's been so lovely to have you. And I've really enjoyed our time together, and I hope you have too.
Yes, thank you. I agree. Thank you so much for having me on here. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Awesome. All right. Close us out with some inspiration.
Okay, well, you all get to decide if it's inspirational or not. I guess the thing that I will say is keeping in line with slowing down and thinking about yourself and others. Just be kind,
Mm.
be kind to yourself. Your inner voice is the voice that you hear the most. And what I find working with so many people is it is pretty often pretty critical and degrading to oneself. So be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself, with others. And I like to, like Mr. Rogers, he always says, like, look for the helpers, right? So if you can't find it, if you can't be nice to yourself, like look for the helpers, look for the other people that can reflect that back. And so you can do that for yourself. And keep in mind that most most of us are just trying to do our best.
I love that, Dr. Michelle. I giggled a little, not because I was laughing at you, but because every show, as you guys know, I end with I'm your host, Jessica Koch. This has been another Profound Professionals. And until the next one, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. And that is how I've
Yeah,
closed our show for almost
high
9 years
five.
now. So out we go, and we'll see you at the
Yep,
next one. Bye, everybody.
absolutely. Thank you.